Alright, YouTube, I'm back for my next video. This one's gonna be a more kick-ass, relatable YouTube video. This one's gonna be called Sex Game Playboy versus King versus Maximum Magazine. Oh yeah, I'm gonna say it again. The name of the title of this video is called Sex Game Playboy versus King versus Maximum Magazine. Now, these are three of the world's best magazines in today's pop culture. If you're a man's man, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of y'all that was born in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, y'all know what Playboy Magazine is. You know, created by and founded by who else? Hugh Hefner. Now, he was one of the big aficionados who created his own magazine and made his magazine so notorious that the magazine was so powerful. 25 or 30 years later, when he was still alive, of course, he passed away some 3 years ago, but the man made a fortune off of Playboy. You know, Playboy is synonymous with Hollywood. Hollywood is synonymous with Playboy. I remember my days of running away from my mom back in the day in 1992, 95, and 96, and seeing Pamela Anderson on the front cover of Playboy magazine. I mean, she had them big, strong, firm breasts. Hold on. You know how I gotta do my YouTube videos. If you're not from the age of 18 to 50 years of age, you do not need to be watching this YouTube video. This content is for adults. It's not for kids. YouTube requires all its YouTube content creators, that means me, to tell you if my content is for kids or for not for kids. So if you click on this video and you like the name of the title because it's cool and it's badass and you're not in college, we don't want your mom, your dad, your grandfather, your grandmom, or your uncle, your auntie to bust in on the door on you and catch you watching one of my cool YouTube videos because I'm a popular YouTube star, and then they give you a 3-hour lecture because this content is not for kids. This content is for adults. This video right here that I made is targeting men that are from the age of 18 to 50 years of age. So if you're not at least in college, you shouldn't be watching the video. If you read in the description, it's going to say in big, giant, bold letters, not for kids. I have to do this in the video as a lame disclaimer because a lot of kids like to watch these videos at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning when ain't no adults around. And then YouTube has to monitor my channel to make sure I'm following rule regulations. And I don't want my channel to get taken off the internet because people couldn't follow the rules. So rules are rules. It's a lame disclaimer. I know it sucks. It's not a popular decision, but I have to do it. Now for a mature audience, back to the video presentation. Now, I remember them days where I saw the Playboy magazine. I couldn't wait to see Pamela Anderson on the front cover. Damn! With them big, strong, firm breasts. I mean, damn! She was fine back in the day. And she appeared on Playboy magazine like 3 to 4 times. And that weren't the only reason why I wanted to buy Playboy. There were actresses that I always wanted to see on Playboy. Like, there was this other actress that Pamela Anderson did a television show in the 1990s called VIP. There was another actress. She appeared on Playboy. And then, of course, you know, let's not forget those 3 chicks that made a television show in the early days of MTV and VH1. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Miley, whatever her name, Kenner. Well, I can't even pronounce her name, but she married that football player, that professional football player, I think, named Jason something. He was a football player for the Tennessee Titans, one of those football teams. He married her, and they made a television show. Now, what I love about Playboy is that it was very good because they broke it down. They would talk about sex, politics, sports, but a lot of people complain that they weren't giving you much to read. And you see, it was great because in its prime, Playboy was all over the place. I remember the days where if my mom went out with her girlfriends, I would go to the cable and watch the Playboy channel. And then my mom had to cut the cable service because I was trying to watch cable. Mom like, I didn't pay cable so you can go watch Playboy. Like if there weren't no basketball, no football, if Dragon Ball Z wasn't on, Power Rangers, there weren't no wrestling, that's what I would be doing. Watching some Playboy. And then I got a hold of some Playboy magazines. And of course, you get caught by your mom or your grandma. They take the Playboy magazines from you because they be like, you're not even an adult. And how do you get access to all of this? And I would go to the CBS every Saturday and every Sunday. And I would read every single issue that they had on display that wasn't in plastic. Then they had to make you pay for it. Then they had to turn around and change the legal age and make it where you got to be 21 or over to buy the magazines. And it wasn't until I actually turned 21 that I was able to buy the magazines. Then they had to take them out of bookstores. I think between 1999 to 2003, it became so controversial that people who had their kids going to college, they didn't want them reading them, so they would take them out of the bookstores and make you order them. So then you had to go online and get a subscription. Yeah, like I said, it's synonymous. And Playboy made a lot of women's careers. Remember Anna Nicole Smith, the late, great Anna Nicole Smith? She got to be on Playboy magazine cover twice. Probably would have been on there 4 times if she never passed away. But she was on there. That was another one of the reasons why I wanted to buy the cover. Like, it goes back to the days of the 50s, okay? I mean, they had Playboy television. Hugh Hefner had that before the ratings fall apart. He would have athletes come to his Playboy mansion. Professional athletes, basketball, football. Don King would get some girls. The pictures with Mike Tyson when he was heavyweight champion the first time around. Pictures of Magic Johnson when he won his back-to-back NBA championships. It's the stuff of legends. Big-time actors like Jack Nicholson. And of course later on you get to today's Hollywood elite. You got your Brad Pitt, your Tom Cruise, your Leonardo DiCaprio, George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, Will Smith. You get these guys and you see them in the magazines, you get blown away that this magazine attracts everyone's attention. Anyone who's anyone is synonymous with Playboy. It is the legends of magazines. But then here comes a magazine for the black man. Because for almost 15, 20 years, Jet Magazine was one of those magazines that black men could pick up and read. Until King Magazine came in the late 1990s, early 2000s. You would have Little Kim on the front cover. Remember when Notorious B.I.G. came, all of a sudden Faith Evans was on the cover. Little Kim was on the cover. Foxy Brown was on the cover. They would put Beyonce on there. Tyra Banks on there. All the fine black women on King Magazine. I think Lisa Ray appeared on King Magazine like 3 to 4 times on that front cover. Then they came with a sequel, King Magazine XXL. And you was like, what is that? Too hot for the magazine stands. Oh, let me go give me hold of one of those bad boys. And when we had into its prime, I think the 2000s, King Magazine was just whooping Playboy. I mean, the 1950s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, Playboy was kicking ass and taking names. But when King Magazine came, and you had Trina with that big butt, yeah, I used to be a huge fan of Trina, the female rapper from Miami, Florida. I used to listen to all her music. She appeared on King Magazine. And, of course, I had to look at the issue. Little Kim was on there, like I said, Foxy Brown, Beyonce, Tyra Banks. Let's see, they even had some actresses on there. Lorian London would pop up on the magazine cover. Some people don't remember it, but Lorian London, when she first came out, she was on that magazine. Just imagine if some of today's fine black actresses if they would appear on King Magazine. See, King Magazine was like a response to Playboy, because they weren't taking none of the black actresses that were in the movies and television shows and putting them in the Playboy magazine. So King Magazine was that, I guess you could call it, our black version of Playboy. And then, for whatever reason, all of a sudden, you didn't see King Magazine as much. All of a sudden, Maximum Magazine popped out of nowhere. And you see, when I started to lose some interest in Playboy, it was because they were making the magazines so expensive, it was to stop teenagers and kids in college from buying them. So they started to get too expensive and make you order them on the internet or buy it in person, and you have to show ID. That's what made it so synonymous in its later years. Now you had to show ID when you buy Playboy magazine. At the time, the only magazine or other magazine that would make you do that was Hustler magazine, where you had to actually literally take out your ID and show, yeah, I'm legal age, what's the problem, what's happening. A lot of people would fight over those magazines. So I had to start taking them out of the bookstore and put them in the bookstores. And then there was the Tattoo magazine. Oh yeah, that came from out of nowhere. When Playboy magazine became too expensive, King magazine started to lose a lot of its sex appeal in the magazines. When all of a sudden it became more about the rappers and not too much about the females, that's where King XL came out as a magazine cover. And then I guess the editor or whoever owned that magazine decided, let's just make it a part of rap. You know, you bought a rap album. Like when Nipsey Hussle came, it kind of had its resurrection. Because Nipsey Hussle kind of like, nah, you going to put me on King magazine. Started to have its little resurrection. Everyone bought the magazine. Oh, let's not forget about Sports Illustrated. Because I know some people will say, what about Sports Illustrated? I want to make a completely separated YouTube video about the 10 things that I like about Sports Illustrated. Because that focuses on women's sex appeal in sports. And for me to try to bring that into this magazine video would be too digested, too confusing, and things would just get lost in the shuffle. So I want to focus on these magazines. Like, because Sports Illustrated is like the sex sports magazine for men and women. That is like People's Magazine, Sexiest Man or Woman. It's on that level. So that'd be like a completely different video altogether. It's in a class by itself. Like if you look at the Sexiest People's Magazine, you know, the Sexiest Man or the Sexiest Woman magazine, you would have to call those magazines the Muhammad Ali of the magazines. Sports Illustrated would be like the Bruce Lee magazine in that category. But Playboy is like, it's king. It is number one. It is synonymous. King magazine kind of took over Playboy into the 2000s and dominated. All of a sudden, professional wrestlers. Somewhere around 2001, 2002, that's where a lot of these wrestlers would get into some of those Maximum magazines. You look at today's actresses, you know, they would have Jennifer Lawrence on the front cover of Maximum magazine. You know, I'm serious. You know, there's Jennifer Lawrence, there would be Scarlett Johansson. A lot of today's actresses would appear on Maximum magazine, and all of a sudden I was hooked on Maximum. All of a sudden between Playboy, King magazine, and Maximum, I started looking at those three magazines. And I started collecting a lot of Maximum magazines in the past 7 years. Every now and then I would go read a King magazine. And like I told you, when we got into like 2009, 2010, 2014, it started to lose some of its sex appeal until Nipsey Hussle resurrected it. Playboy, every now and then, depending who they put on the Playboy magazine, I would watch. I mean, these were the three top magazines that were just killing. And if you didn't have no Playboy, you had King magazine. If you didn't have King magazine, you had Maximum magazine. But at that time, Jet magazine was for black people because it was in the 1960s, early 1970s. And then King magazine was kind of like a resurrection of the Jet magazine. They tried to do Jet magazine, King magazine, but it didn't work because Jet magazine was like for people of my dad's and granddad's era, and then King magazine was for my generation, you know, and they would put Beyonce on the front cover. It'd sell like hotcakes. You know, I remember they did the lined up where they had, I can't remember, I think they had either Scarlett Johansson or another actress that looked like Scarlett Johansson on the Playboy magazine, and then right next to it, Beyonce was on the King magazine, and both magazines sold out. Like, you could not get you a Beyonce magazine if it was on the front cover of King. You couldn't even get you a magazine of Scarlett Johansson if she ever did pop up on Playboy. All that was left was those other magazines that you had to read because all the good magazines sold out. And you see, and I had never made a video about what I thought about magazines. I mean, you go to the bookstore every day, you read the magazines, and someone gonna ask you 20 years from now, back when they had a lot of bookstores, because some of these bookstores are now closing, they're going out of business, and everything's going online, and that's what gave me the idea to make this video. So I thought this video would be nice to educate and help, but it's for men, because I know a lot of you men do consider this as the first stage of soft porn. And then, of course, we have digital porn. And you see, the reason why I said if this video is well received, I'll come back and make the video about Sports Illustrated, because Sports Illustrated is like in its own class. But these were the magazines that I read as a kid, like the evolution. It all started with Playboy magazine. Most people don't ever get a chance to pick up these magazines and experience them. This is like when you couldn't get a girlfriend, these are the magazines you went to for comfort when you was getting the fake phone numbers, the fake email. I know y'all men know what I'm talking about when you was in high school and college, or you was in another city, in another state because you got accepted to a Cal Berkeley, or you got accepted to NYU. These were the magazines you read for your entertainment pleasure. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. I know y'all remember those magazines back in the day. And when you get married and you walk into the store, a part of you wait until your wife or your girlfriend or baby mama's not paying attention, and you'll see a Playboy magazine, a King magazine, or a Maximum magazine. You'll say, oh man, the days of those magazines. And you'll buy one for your son, your grandson, or your uncle, or your cousins, or it's guy's day out, or you gotta watch the kids, and if the kids are asleep, you might go into the next room and you might pick up one of those magazines and go, oh, I remember the days of those magazines. So this video was for fun, joy of entertainment. Like I said, this video is for adults, mainly men. This video is a man's video. Now, women are welcome to watch. I know some women going to say, well, you need to make a video about women and how women pop up in the magazines. And like I said, Playboy was, to me, in my opinion, Playboy is how women careers flourish. If it weren't for the Playboy magazine, a lot of these women would not get into the movies. And Playboy was like the stamp of a woman's career. If a woman got into movies, television, modeling, the one thing that needed to complete a woman's resume as an actress was Playboy magazine. If you were a man trying to break into television and film, and you're a rapper who transitioned into an actor or to a male model like Tyson Bedford, King magazine was like the final stamp on your resume. So you can see that if it weren't for Playboy, a lot of these actresses, you wouldn't know who they are. That's how you find out about a lot of these actresses, is through a lot of these magazines. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, just imagine what they could come up with for the millennials. Like, imagine if they made Facebook magazine, or YouTube magazine, or Instagram magazine. Just imagine the possibilities. Until then, peace.